How's everybody doing today? I hope you're all doing great. I can't believe it's already the fourth quarter here coming up. We're going to start in about 2 minutes. Can you guys all hear me? Excellent. I'm just going to wait till 3:15 and then we'll get this party started. And this shouldn't take us too long today. Thanks for all the thumbs up. There's some pretty sweet emojis on here. Very nice. The thumbs up. Super de-duper. Alrighty. Right now, you should be able to see my screen. I'm going to make sure that you're all seeing this. Can everybody see that I'm tapping my Microsoft Word document here, our kindergarten framework? Is that coming through clearly? Just wanted to make sure. Thank you very much. All right. So today's goal of the session is to go over our updated kindergarten framework that we had went through on January 2nd, which is the last time we met. I know it's been crazy. It seems like the weather is exactly the same, right? I mean, seriously. It's like cold every day. It rains every day. We're stuck inside with these kids all the time. Major bummer, right? So today we're going to check out where we started and where we're going to be going for our proposed 2018-19 framework for science. So as we're going throughout this session, feel free to type your messages, type any messages you have, any messages about the updates. Any questions, please post there, and I will definitely check them as we're going through there to try to best answer all your questions. I'd love to have you all unmuted, but it might be kind of more challenging to do that. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at our new framework. So when we last met, January 2nd, in K North and K South, we met just two different groups, and they took all the information that we gave them, and they combined it to form a new learning framework for next year. So we can see we have lots and lots of changes. We've got properties of matter and physical attributes beginning the year, which we all agreed upon. You can see the weeks and the times have adjusted. So you teach for 7 weeks matter and physical attributes and a little bit of motion in first quarter as well as in second quarter. Day and night stayed the same. I believe that's all that stayed the same for this upcoming year. Then we moved into living and non-living, rocks and soils, which ties right in. And then we had plants as well as animals. Previously, animals was 9 weeks long. Now it's been reduced to 5 weeks. So our notes that we had taken from the last time, our justification, we're all here below, as you can see, about why we wanted this included. Essentially, what I'm looking for right now is any questions that you have about the framework. Do people still agree with this upcoming framework? I'm going to close this screen and take a peek at the message board, and we can talk about any questions you have about this, and then we will talk about our upcoming fourth quarter lessons that are on CTLS. All right, so right now I've got no questions. Does anyone have any questions for the group about the upcoming framework that we had discussed? Let's see. Beth Lawton is typing a message. You go, Beth. That's what we're talking about. All right. And I know not everybody, if you know somebody that was not able to participate today, we will have a recording of this meeting just in case. So it looks like we have no questions. All right. So I'm going to pull this up one more time. Again, if you are just joining us, we have been discussing the kindergarten framework update. We took last year's during our January 2nd meeting, and we proposed a new framework to be adapted. And you can see there's adjusted, all the units have been adjusted except motion and day and night are still taught in the same amount of time, but the amount of weeks have been changed, as well as with animals. I'm going to go take a look at the message board. This will be our new science framework for next year, Beth, to answer your question. So the proposed science framework that we have for next year is this current framework right here. This is for 2018 and 19 school year. I'm just going to highlight that. So this is what is proposed based upon what we discussed on our January 2nd review right after our holiday break. All right. So this is what we're looking at teaching next year. So obviously the report cards and everything will have to be updated to match the new learning framework that we have been discussing. All right. It doesn't look like does anybody have any more questions about the updated framework? Does have any concerns? If you have any concerns or questions, again, feel free to type them here so we can pass the answer. All right. So glad it's updated. Do you know if math standards will align with the properties of matter science standards? As far as I would know about that, I have not seen the new proposed math standards since I'm not the math PLC. But my assumption is, since we did, the reason why we chose to have this was because, your kids are working on, counting numbers 1 through 10, 1 through 20 in the beginning of the year. So they could, your math stations could include your science and math stations could really go hand in hand with counting various objects and sorting and all of that good stuff. I think would tie right in. I would imagine that your math standards would be similar to this year as they were last year, since those build upon each other. All right. I don't see any more questions there. So I will take a peek back here. Did that answer your question well enough, Beth? And I'm sure that we could reach out to our math content supervisor or any of our math PLCs, people that are at your school. Those are probably the best people to talk about the math standards to align along with the science standards. But there are definitely tons of ways that you can integrate math and science together. All right, so this upcoming fourth quarter, there's a few people typing. I'm going to come back and take a look at this in a moment. So this upcoming fourth quarter, we have our 2 units are not living and not living. Or, excuse me, wait. Let me go back to the units. That's right, it is living and not living. So unit 6 is living and not living. Then we have plants as our second part. So I'm just going to go through here and just review where the lessons are, check out the lessons, see if we have any questions about the lessons that are here. Again, we've got our unit outline, our background information is all included here. We go down, we click our topics for our big ideas, enduring understanding. Everything we can see, what we're looking for is all here, essential questions, standards, and vocabulary, and so on. I'm going to go down to our instructional strategies where our topic lessons are. And I'm going to click our lessons. Here you can also see common misconceptions. This is always a good place to start, especially when teaching living and non-living. You can see some common misconceptions right here, like plants, trees, and bushes are not alive. I know in the past, this has been one of the biggest problems for kindergartners for me, as well as seeds are not living. Because kids will not think they're alive because the leaves fall off and they often think they're dead. Even when I was teaching second grade today, when we were talking about seasonal change, kids were like, oh, it's dead because there's no leaves, even though there are buds. So the kids, as they get older, are still going to have some of those similar misconceptions. So our lessons that we have here, we've got 3 lessons for living and non-living. Before I get into that, I'm just going to double check that there's no questions over here. Do we know for sure that the pacing guide is going to be used? I'm just wondering for summer planning purposes. All right, Jillian, that's a good question. My assumption is, since this email is from Christian Callie, our science supervisor, that it's still a proposal. So I'm assuming that they probably have to make sure. I'm not sure how they'd go through the rest of the process through the county, but I'm assuming since a main goal of the PLC this year was to update these, that I'm assuming that they are going to be using these going forward. And I will get clarification upon that. I will send Christian Callie an email to get clarification on that. It's like tongue twister right there. Clarification. Jeez Louise. All right. So I'm going to go back over to, hopefully that answers your questions, and I'll email him. And once he responds back to me, I'll then forward that message to this group of teachers, to our North cohort. All right. Excellent. So we can look here. Now, I know these are some lessons that I did right, so you can definitely try these ones out. The first one is we're going on a live hunt. Like, we're going on a bear hunt, right? Who doesn't love going on a bear hunt in kindergarten? That used to be my favorite dance. So much fun. All right. So we're going to be really doing observations and modeling organisms, non-living objects sorted into groups based upon their attributes. And we're also going to be able to explain, based on observations, the difference between living things and non-living objects. So that's really what our students are working on. We can see this first one is 2 to 3 30-minute class periods, so this would probably take you 3 days most likely. You've got all your engineering practices, your cross-cutting concepts included as usual. Again, your vocabulary, big ideas, understanding, your EQs, all of your materials that you need. They're pretty simple stuff. Make sure you've got your hand lens, tablets, the graphic organizer that's included in the workspace, along with pencils, crayons, clipboards. And then the phenomena is pretty simple here. It's not everything is alive on Earth. So you can see these are pretty, well explained. I'm obviously not going to read you all these or anything like that. But, using hand lens to go exploring, making sure the kids know how to use them properly. Oftentimes kindergartners will just put it to their eyeball and won't really actually use it properly. They just see kind of a blurry vision. So make sure if your students aren't using those often, that you are practicing how to use those properly. And then you've got, your 5E mythology going on here, talking about your adventure, about looking for alive. And what we did was we rewrote the song to, we're going on a live hunt. Yeah, we're going to look for living things, right? So it's just a knockoff of the actual one. And I'm not going to sing to you guys. I mean, you've heard my voice before. I know it's beautiful, but so... lots of exploring and hands-on learning. We want the kids being able to differentiate between the two things. You're going to use your OWL organizer to clear up any misconceptions about living and non-living. And at the end, you got a little YouTube song all about living and non-living things. And then the adventure continues tomorrow. If you're taking lessons outside, a really easy thing to use is to use like Google or your Amazon Photos. Are easy to access at school, as well as I'm sure if you have an iPhone, I'm sure you could access your cloud so you can show what they were doing the previous day with pictures. Kids always work really well with showing pictures of previously learned material. Again, we've got a song about living and non-living things opening back up to get right back into it. I'm not going to explain all these, but you guys are great readers. So again, you've just got everything in here you need. You've got your differentiation. If there's any questions you have about the lessons while you're teaching them, you can feel free to email me, and I'll do my best to help you get through with any of these. But they should be pretty clear and concise of what you need to do. Okay? So that's one of the lessons. You can see we also have a sorting lesson. You've got your sorting PowerPoint here. So this one's going to be pretty self-explanatory. The kids are going to be sorting out living and non-living things. And you can see you've got all sorts of different pictures of living and non-living things here for the kids. I'm going to check here to make sure there's no questions. All right, looks like we're good. If you have any questions about anything, just feel free again to type them at the bottom, and I'll keep looking at these as I'm going. All right, and the last one is called headbands. Some of you may have seen the game, and I think it's spelled like headbands with a Z. It's really like a really good vocabulary word game for young learners, really for any learners, and I think they have an adult version of it too. Essentially, the kids put a headband on their head with you're going to use the living and non-living sets that we used before, so you don't have to use a ton of new materials for this, and the kids are going to play the game for 3 30-minute class periods or 20 minutes, whatever you have available in your time. But essentially, to make the headbands, you just need to have sentence strips or construction paper, and then the PowerPoint that I just showed you can use again for your living and non-living sort. You know, glue them on some index cards, make it nice and easy, and then the kids can either have to create their own, they have to create them themselves. So sentence strips, you know, pretty fun way of incorporating and engaging with good vocabulary instruction, speaking skills, listening skills, which are so important in the early kindergarten years. You know, you can tie in lots of phonics with this and lots of other things. There's looks like just exploring here, we've got some Sesame Street in there talking about are puppets living things, how do we know they aren't alive, etc. Then teaching how you're going to play the game. It's all kind of repeating. And then the last day, the kids are just creating their own living and non-living drawings. So they create their own version of the game. And again, for each day, it goes in further explanation into each day of how you're going to play it as you scroll through the lessons. Alrighty. So that was all of those lessons. I'm going to take a peek, make sure we're looking good over here. All right, we're looking good. Cool. So I'm going to go back to our next one, our next unit. Our last unit of the year is plants. And you know, I mean, plants really go hand in hand. If you're teaching about living and non-living things, it's impossible to ignore plants because you really should be spending a lot of your time outside. Like those lessons are just lessons that you can use within your classrooms that really do work well in case it is raining or it's poor weather. But definitely spend a lot of your time outside. You know, the kids can go outside. They can pull weeds. They can do all of that cool stuff just to learn about sizes and differences. You can learn about plants part. But here we've got, again, it's all the same stuff. I know you guys know how to use all this. But this one is called Let's Argue Plants version. So essentially the kids are going to be learning how to construct an argument. Now they've done this in previous quarters. This has been a common theme throughout the science standards. So hopefully the students have experience with constructing an argument with evidence that they learned about and about plants. Okay. So again, one thing that I noticed it's not here for safety considerations, make sure students that have allergies that, you know, if they're allergic to pollen, make sure, you know, they aren't digging their way in a flower and rubbing it over their eyes. So definitely make sure that should definitely be a safety consideration. So these sorting cards are sorted like a deck of cards. If I go back here, you can kind of get an idea of what they look like. Let me see if I can, oh, okay. I thought these ones were, maybe I'm looking at the wrong ones. But this is all the different types of plants that you see located in here. Oh, within here, within the lesson, we included, sorry about that. Okay, here we go. So within here, to print the cards off, I had to give directions on how to print into smaller sets. So you just really follow these directions here. And this way you can print them in sets. So it's more like you have 4 pages per sheet, or maybe you want 2 pages. This is just an easier way if you want to laminate and save space. That way you can save your lamination and near the end of the school year, all that stuff. So you need some live flowers for this, or you can have some flowers like a bouquet from home, or you can pick flowers outside. There's really not a lot of stuff you're going to need because you can really use the sorting game and the card game that comes with it. But again, the stress here is really making sure the kids understand how to give evidence and an argument based upon how to play the game. So make sure the students are working in groups, how they can communicate that is really what we're looking for, okay? And again, they're doing lots of sorting, things they've been doing since the beginning of the year. Alrighty, so that's one of the lessons, and then the second one is just exploring plants. There's a plant organizer that goes along with this lesson, which is pretty simple to use. How can I construct an argument to show how plants can be grouped? So you've got trees, shrubs, flowers, grass. The kids are really just going to be exploring plants around your school, and they can use that to collect their evidence. And again, learn how to create that argument that they're working on about different features of plants and about plants that are living and non-living, living things. And of course, they might see some non-living things. Some easy things to have for this: make sure you have some like lima beans are easy. Talk about if those are living, all that good stuff. I'm going to quick double check. Make sure there's no questions. Looks like, all right, there are still no questions. Good. So pretty much this is really all I wanted to show you today. I hope you're all doing great, and I hope you roll into the fourth quarter. I'm sure you're all excited. You know, it's crazy to think we only got 2.5 weeks and we have another break. We come back, it's milestones, and pretty much then the fun begins with our field day and all that good stuff. This year I really enjoyed being able to work with all of you and get to know you, and hope if you have any other questions about anything, again, I think the only question I really had is the pacing guide. I'm going to send, where will we find the lessons you have been showing? Okay. These lessons, I'm sorry, these are all under your CTLS. When you go to cobk12.org, you're just going to CTLS Teach, and then you are clicking your case science like we've done. I think we did this in the first quarter, case science, and then you are clicking your unit. So I know I'm going here, living and non-living. It's going to bring me directly to that unit. And then again, all the lessons are under instructional strategies. Everything you need is you just click what you're looking for. There are STEM challenges that go within these also, but not all of them have STEM challenges. This one does have a challenge called Model It, since the kids are really doing lots of modeling. And so this was a STEAM challenge that the kids would do. Again, obviously I love STEAM. That's what I do all day. Make sure you steam it up. Have some fun with that. Essentially the kids are doing, let's see. So they're building a best model of a living and non-living thing. So they're creating a model, like a living display. So it can kind of be like a big event for your kids, a model-thon. Have fun and let's model away. Super duper. All right, it looks like I think I answered all the questions. So thanks a bunch again. I'm going to email Christian right now the question that you guys had. Here we go. Framework. Kindergarten framework. Going to be 100% sure for next year. That was our question from our meeting today. Here you go, get to me. Type. I'm going to CC you guys on it. That way you'll all get it. All right. It looks like we're good to go. Read. Awesome job. Great. Thank you very much. All right. Well, you guys enjoy the rest of your school year. Again, if you need anything, feel free to email me at sean.spolowski@cobk12.org, and I'll be more than happy to help you with any questions or concerns that you have. All right. You guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and we will talk to you soon. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to close this up. I'm stopping the recording now. Thanks again. Have a great rest of your year. Have fun.